Okay, it's 5 o'clock. Good evening. Welcome to the Design and Review Board meeting of December 12th, 2024. This is the last DRB meeting of the year, 2024. The DRB meeting is now called to order. Please refrain from talking among yourselves during the meeting, and please turn off or put on vibrate all cell phones at this time. For public comments and questions during the meeting, please call 818-937-8100. City staff will be submitting the questions and comments in real time to the appropriate person. Current DRB agenda and staff reports are available by visiting our website at www.glendaleca.gov. Records of decisions for all projects will be posted online on the Planning Division's website. A handout describing the procedures of the meeting, possible board decisions, and DRB appeal is available from staff. Please note that any appeal of a case heard today must be filed within 15 calendar days of the DRB decision date. Meetings are also archived on the city website for viewing anytime at glendaleca.gov/agendas. Roll call. Board Member Kaskanian.
Present.
Board Member Welch.
Present.
Board Member Simonian is absent, and Madam Chair Lockruff.
Present.
Reports regarding posting of agenda. The agenda for the December 12th, 2024 regular meeting of the Glendale Design Review Board was posted on the city's website on December 5th, 2024, and on the bulletin board outside City Hall on December 9th, 2024. Approval of minutes for the October 24th, 2024 and November 14th, 2024 minutes.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the minutes for both dates. Oral communication discussion is limited to items not part of this agenda. Each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. Design Review Board may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or discussion. I do not have any oral communication. Madam Chair, do you have any?
I do not.
Okay. Oral communication. Oh, I just said that. We're moving on. Board and commission member comments. Any comments?
No comments.
And I don't
Thank
have
you.
any either. Okay. We don't have anything under old business, so we will move forward with new business. First case, 601 North Brand Boulevard, DRB case number 000628-2022 for advisory, and the case planner is Roger Kiesel. Madam Chair.
Yes, please proceed, Roger.
All right. Good evening, Design Review Board members. Tonight's hearing is an advisory design review for a proposed project located at 601 North Brand Boulevard. Just in summary, the City Council heard the Stage 1 design about a year ago. Council approved the project to proceed to Stage 2. Design Review Board provided some advisory review and comments in February of this year. The applicant has requested a second advisory review from you all. Based on revisions it's made to the project based on your comments. So let me just give you a brief overview of the project, which really hasn't changed significantly from the last time the board reviewed it. The project site is approximately 5.4 acres. It's the eastern 3/4 of the block that is created by Sanchez Avenue to the north, North Brand Boulevard to the east, West Dorn Street to the south, and North Central Avenue to the west. The site is zoned DSP Gateway District. The proposal consists of demolishing the existing approximately 78,000 square foot surface parking lot in the northern portion of the site and constructing a new 858 unit, 858,000 square foot multifamily development. 129 of those units will be affordable. The multifamily units will be contained in two 380-foot-high towers over a podium level. Parking for the project will be at grade and at subterranean levels. Most of the proposed publicly accessible open space is located within a newly created courtyard which has been revised since the last time you saw it. The courtyard is formed by the proposed project as well as the existing 14-story office building. Existing development on the site will be maintained with the exception of that surface parking lot. The overall development includes the office tower the office tower on Brand, a one-story retail building located at the intersection of Brand and Doran, and then a 5-story parking structure located in the western portion of the site adjacent to Doran. This is sort of a sky view of the project site. The overall site is outlined in red. The proposed project is outlined in green, so it's a northern, probably 1/3 of the site. This next slide shows the revised design of the Sanchez Drive elevation. You'll see it a couple times in this presentation. As I mentioned before, each tower is about 380 feet high and contains 36 stories. Sort of a site context, in the foreground of the photo is the surface parking lot that's proposed for demolition. The photo looks south. You can see the 5-story parking garage and the 14-story office building behind the surface parking lot. This is the site plan or the ground floor plan of the project. The publicly accessible open space is located on the right side of the slide in this area. The porte-cochere bisects the project, so one of the towers is over here and one is over here. Lobbies on either side of the porte-cochere, so here and here. The back of house uses are located in gray, so this area and this area. And the commercial tennis space is located adjacent to the publicly accessible open space in this area. Second level podium. This contains both indoor and outdoor amenity space for the residents. Inside amenities include lounges, co-working spaces, and a fitness center. The outside amenities include a pool, spa, a couple dog parks, outdoor kitchen, and sitting areas. This is the third level and the bridge connecting the third level. The 4th through the 35th levels mirror each other and contain all of the residential units. The 36th level contains both indoor and outdoor amenity spaces. And I would like to correct myself. I think in the staff report, I had mentioned that they really hadn't programmed this space yet, and I was wrong. They have some programming. So just to highlight that, because that was one of the initial conditions of the city council, and I think there was discussion about that when you all looked at it in February. All right, again, this is the north elevation of the proposed project, so we're looking south, sort of across the freeway. The east elevation, the project is the tallest in this. You can see the 14-story office building here. The 1-story building is here. This is the south elevation of the proposed project. So sort of looking from Doran. And then finally, the west elevation of the project. Again, this is the western tower. This is the office building. Now, as you may recall, the proposed project is located in the downtown specific plan and must comply with the city's inclusionary housing ordinance. This ordinance requires that a minimum of 15% of the proposed housing units be affordable to low or very low-income households. Because the project is providing affordable housing, the development is eligible for density bonus and incentives. The applicant will be requesting the following incentives for the proposed development. These incentives haven't changed since you last saw it. So just real briefly, the DSP requires building floor plates above 200 feet high be reduced in area by a minimum of 15%. The DSP also requires high-rise facades above 60 feet to be stepped back a minimum of 20 feet. Building facades over 200 feet in length must include building separation at street level or at 16 feet above street level. This required building separation must be at least 40 feet wide. And then finally, no more than 40% of the balcony shall extend beyond the building facade and project a maximum of 25% of the balcony full depth. So these are things that the applicant will be requesting incentives for. The board had made a number of different comments, suggestions, concerns related to the project. These comments and the applicant's responses are really detailed in the staff report. So I can go over them if you'd like. Otherwise, they're in the staff report, and we can just go through this real quickly. What's your preference?
I personally would like to hear some of the responses, but maybe more specific ones, and I can ask those questions at the end about my fellow board members. Do you want to hear the responses read?
I'm not sure. It doesn't matter to me. I read the staff report.
Right.
And I'll be asking questions of the
Okay.
applicant. So.
We'll ask questions after then.
Okay.
It's okay to go through this. Thank you.
So I'll just breeze through this real quick. These were the board comments. Better integration of traffic service ride sharing into the site planning. You all wanted consideration of public transit plan in the overall planning of the project. The lobbies of the two towers should be celebrated. A number of revisions in the publicly accessible open space. And then there was a importance that you felt should be given to the Brand Sanchez intersection, and you should, that's really the gateway to downtown. Just going over this more specifically, you really wanted a special design at that intersection. You realized, or there was some realization or thoughts that that second level podium above the commercial space kind of limited the design options. They have really thought that out. If and, you'll see some photos later on. The corner design should use some unique shapes and forms, and then consider public art in that area, which they have designated a space for. In terms of the towers, you felt like the massing did not really address the context. You were interested in something more interesting and more unique or playful. And the applicant shouldn't be constrained by these things didn't need to be identical. Other comments, the project is a big example for the city. And so while it is requesting some of these concessions, it really needs to excel in other areas like potentially environmental, open space, the corner feature being real special. There was a thought about having another bridge that crosses both towers at an upper level. You wanted the project to be influenced by its location in Glendale. Also consider how the project integrates with the existing on-site to remain development. You also wanted the applicant to consider including 3-bedroom units in the project. I don't know if they're studio units. I think they're just 1 and 2 bedroom, but that's something that you can ask the applicant. The Sanchez brand intersection, while integrating with the overall project, should be differentiated in some way. Refine the lobbies to incorporate features of the DSP and highlight these areas. And I will show you how they have done that later on. Provide landscaping programming for the common open space proposed on the rooftop tower. And as I mentioned, that is done. You've seen it. We can go back to it if you've got questions. Now, real quick, I'm just going to go over some renderings. This is looking southwest. So you see this street right here is Brand. This is the eastern tower, the western tower, and the corner element / publicly accessible open space. Looking west, looking northwest, and this highlights the open space as well as what they've done, the unique feature that they have included on the second level of the commercial tenant. This is a rendering of the lobby and porte cochere. Rendering of the publicly accessible open space from the street intersection. So the public art, this is sort of a space where they're thinking of putting it. This isn't, hasn't been approved. It's kind of like a placeholder. And then this is the sort of cover that they have proposed above the second floor commercial space. This is looking from within the open space out toward Brand to the north. The commercial seating is in this area, and then the publicly accessible open space is here. Another rendering from within the open space. And then finally, recommendations. Just, you saw these last time. The council approved stage 1 review on November 7th with 3 conditions. Refine the project design at the Brand Sanchez intersection. So I have, the slides below include 2 views of the intersection. Unfortunately, they're not from the same sort of orientation. The slide to the right is the revised plan. The slide to the left, no, I'm sorry. The slide to the left is the revised plan. The slide to the right is the plan that you saw last time. The second recommendation was revised designs of the lobbies, entrances to the residential tower to incorporate features specified in the DSP and better highlight these areas of the project. So this was sort of the floor plan, a blow-up of the lobby area. And this is a blow-up of the elevation. And then the third recommendation was provide landscaping program for the rooftop towers. And then I have some comparison slides to close out my presentation. The upper slide here is the north elevation that you saw in February. And then the lower elevation is the revised plans that you're reviewing today. Corner element comparison, so the upper slide is what you reviewed in February, and the lower slide is what you'll be reviewing today. Lobby comparison, the upper slide was the original, revised design is lower. One of the things that was discussed was having entrances directly from Brand, and so it's a little hard to distinguish, but the revised design, one of the changes is doors on Brand, and I'm sort of circling with my cursor where those doors are. And then sort of a comparison of the open space. So the original open space is on the right. Commercial is purple, and so the open space was in this area. And then the revised design is fairly similar in shape, but in this area. One of the things that changed, and I go over this, I think, in the staff report, was they had sort of an amphitheater type area that they have eliminated and incorporated into the amenity space for the residents. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions of me?
I believe so. Do you have any questions for staff? Do you have questions for staff?
The applicant also has a presentation.
Okay. Well, and maybe that will answer some of my questions, but a simple one how was the public transportation conversation that we brought up addressed? Was anything widened, in terms of the street along on Sanchez?
Yeah,
Right.
and that's really the purview of Public Works, and I think there's maybe a slight widening, but it isn't. So, it's not really addressed in the revised plans.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really something that Public Works will look at.
Okay.
I
So it could
can't
be a
remember.
development once they review things, or?
Yeah, with stage 2 review, if there are concerns about Sanchez, and I forget exactly what Public Works comments were,
Okay.
they'll be addressed there.
Okay.
But part of it is, we want Sanchez to be, more pedestrian oriented than it is now. It's never going to be a great street to walk on, but, we do want those entrances off Sanchez so that people can walk to Brand and across the freeway or down to the restaurants or, wherever.
Right.
So,
Okay. I think that's it for now. Thank you.
sure.
Okay. And at this point, we'll invite the applicant forward. And I'm not sure which one of you would like to speak first, but please come forward and state your name. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ben Spector, Development Director with Ani Group, joined by Scott Barry, the architect from SCB. So we, after the last meeting, we really went back to the whiteboard and really revisited a few key items, that being the corner feature, which we think we've come up with a really great new design for, and it's going to be an incredible entrance to the city. Also, the half-acre public park, we've really thought a fresh design on that as well, which you'll see. So Roger, if you could pull up our PowerPoint.
It's pulled up. I'm trying to get the full screen.
And then another key item that Scott will go through is the massing. So we've rethought through the backside of the buildings, right, facing the freeways, and kind of redesigned the massing there. And to answer your question on the bus route, so we looked at the bus route, and it's actually not coming down Sanchez. It goes down Central, So we've really rethought through the circulation on the site. So we're taking as much circulation internal as we can with the cars. And like Roger said, once we get more info from DOT, we'll kind of incorporate like the sidewalk widths. But we think right now the sidewalk's going to be 10 feet. So thank you.
Think we're ready for the PowerPoint.
Thanks, Roger.
Hello. Please state your name. Welcome.
Scott Berry, Senior Designer for SCB Architects. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas. Okay, you're driving?
I'm driving.
Okay, I'll go through very swiftly. It's just revisions to the show that we saw in February, and then I'm happy to answer any specific questions that you may have. As was stated earlier, the basic project has not changed. It's still 2 twin towers. The floor plates are still precisely the same size. The heights of the buildings are still fully compliant, have not changed. But the exterior expression of the buildings from top to bottom has changed dramatically, as has the expression of the park, the lobbies, and the entire ground floor. I think thanks largely to Roger and your own comments, coming back here almost a year later, across the board, internally, externally, we have a building that we're much, much happier with, and I think you will be too. Next slide. Okay, so again, as has been pointed out, these are the major issues that you've asked us to address. The Brand and Sanchez Corner, the overall massing, site plan circulation from external to internal, programming for the rooftop, easy one, and then the ground floor redesign, including refinements to the lobby. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, so we've just backed up a little bit, and we want to make sure that that we give you a building that is very specific to and very Glendale, and is not in Miami, it's not Los Angeles, it's not San Francisco or New York. This is a building that's very unique to its site and to its context, and hopefully locks in like a puzzle piece. So we backed up a little bit, and we had a look at the city, and one of the things that really popped out at us was a lot of the streamlined art moderne from the 1920s, 1930s, this very clean, kind of stripped down art deco is very prevalent in many of the public buildings throughout the city. But there's also an element of playfulness, say, to a lot of these buildings. They're not too strict, if you will. They're quite joyful, and there's a lot of use of creative lighting at the ground floor as well. So these are just some threads that we picked up on to help us inspire the new revisions to the exterior. Next slide, please. And then lastly, perhaps a bit more abstractly, but this idea of the jewel city, how can we maybe pick up a thread of inspiration from that as well and incorporate that into the design in some way? Next slide, please. Okay, so this is an updated composite plan looking through the top 36th floor roof deck, and then you can see the second floor podium far down below, and the public park on the far right. I'm happy to go through any specifics you want, but I just want to paint an overall picture of the project again. Twin towers, mirror image, pool deck on second floor, and then the public park on the right-hand side, and then the triangular space framing the park is the main thrust of the retail space at ground floor. Overall site plan, again, for edification, bound by Sanchez on the north and Duran on the south. Brand over there on the right, of course. Just regarding the public transportation, again, I think we've gone over that in a fair amount of detail, but for this specific site, what we can do is make sure that ground floor experience and the pedestrian experience is as beautiful and pleasant as possible. So that's what we've striven to accomplish. Next slide, please. Basically an enlarged ground floor plan, so we can go over any kind of specifics. Next slide, please. And then this same plan, but addressing some of these concerns about ride sharing and congestion out there on Sanchez. As was stated, we don't strictly have any purvey over widening Sanchez. If Public Works says, we need to do that, then the city will go through that process, obviously. But to allay any concerns, about rideshare. We have designated 13 spots inboard of the site specifically for ride-sharing queuing. So there's a huge amount of space internally. The concept is any kind of drop-off, pickup, ride-sharing services will actually come into the project. And we'll be very careful with signage to make sure that's crystal clear to any drivers coming in. They'll come inboard of the project, pick up at Port Cochere and from the front doors along Sanchez, and then out again. But there will be no queuing whatsoever out on Sanchez. Will not occur. We have obviously traffic studies underway as part of the requirement, but it's rather hard to imagine more than 13 spaces being required. Next slide, please. Okay, general view from Brand, from the north looking south. I think this slide, the hero shot, if you will, it addresses just straight out of the gun one of the major comments we received last time, which is the building is very massive, very heavy, very harsh on the north, and we've just kind of backed up from the original idea of this very hard edge on the north and this very soft edge on the south. We said, well, everybody loves this soft expression on the south. What if we just take that and wrap it in a very gentle, whimsical way all the way around the building? So the balconies just play in and out all the way up, it's all concrete, but there's sort of a pinch, if you will, on all 4 facades to soften that and make it much more interesting in the light as the sun tracks across the building. But I think it will create a very handsome, beautiful expression at all times of day and night, as well as form a very strong gateway aspect from a skyline perspective. The Twin Towers absolutely is a statement. It'll be impossible to miss that. Everyone will know the Twin Towers at Brand, at Sanchez, at this intersection. But then again, at street level, we have to make sure that we ensure a gateway statement as well. Next slide, please. From across Brand, looking west into the park on the other side of the street. Again, the overall site in this dimension is just shy of 80 feet, so it's very narrow, forcing the towers onto the north side of the site. But it obviously gives us a very thin, elegant expression over onto these elevations. Semi-aerial view looking down into the new park and the retail prow. One of the comments last time was that we had far too much hardscape, and to create a lot more softscape and general program open space. View along Sanchez of the retail prow. Last time, I think perhaps the comments were it's very hard, very Apple Store-esque. We wanted something a lot more approachable, but extremely memorable. We decided to incorporate what we call our little jewel box here on the corner with a very fun, playful element that can be lighted up on the top at nighttime, so that there'll be this very unique, lively, occupied piece of architecture on the corner, unlike anything else anywhere in the city. And form our gateway as you enter the southern part of downtown. Again, this is the main drop-off along Sanchez. The bridge element, there's not a lot of changes to, but the major change is actually to the lobbies themselves. We've made those 2 stories high, and instead of, hey, where's the front door of the building? I think that's front and center now. Everyone knows precisely where the front door of the building is. They're heroically scaled, but hopefully very elegant, but still have a level of refinement and residential scale to them. Next slide, please. Again, semi-aerial looking down into the park. There was a comment on how do we lock all of the buildings on site, both old and new, together. So the halo element down there at the 2nd floor level, that wraps all the way around the building and reaches over and highlights the entrance into the existing office building as well. So hopefully it acts as this unifying element that will physically, literally tie all of those buildings together as a single complex. So you don't feel like it's an office building sitting next to a park, sitting next to a couple of residential towers. It's all kind of one space. Thank you. Highlight of one of the residential entries along Sanchez. And then from within the lobbies, looking out as well. And then on the left-hand side, peekaboo into the port cochere itself. Hero shot again, we've commented on that one. And then, very importantly, from the 134, if your traffic was as bad as mine, then you'll have plenty of time to have this view. But I think the buildings are extremely elegant and expressive, and again, form a very strong gateway statement from the 134. From Brand, looking directly into the park, this would be from the public sidewalk, just on the other side of the public trees, removed just for clarity of expression. But again, we want we don't want this to be a very hard space. We want this to be a very soft, do-it-yourself, program-it-yourself kind of space that you can occupy any way you wish, whether it's coming here for a picnic, a lunch during the work hours, or attending a jazz ensemble in the evening. Along Sanchez, just looking at that halo element and how it acts as a unifying architectural element, tying the whole building together over the retail space. Excuse me. Next slide, please. And the last but not least, the halo up on top. And again, the opportunities for lighting expression, very subtle, but very unique, I think speak for themselves looking at this image. Again, very fun, very playful, but restrained.
Your time's coming to an end.
Thank you.
But just, yeah. Okay.
It's pretty much the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. And if you don't mind waiting a moment, I'm sure we have board member questions. Board Member Welsh?
Thank you. So I won't give commentary yet, I just have a few questions.
Sure.
So in terms of how you redid the facade on the north side and brought some undulation to that, some variations there, did you consider at all varying that up even more?
We did. There were probably 50 iterations of this on my desktop back in the office. For a variety of reasons, we decided to keep it very simple. Sometimes less is more. With this kind of expression, there's very much the danger of going overboard. Playful is one thing, but insane clown posse is maybe another, right? So we want it elegant, a little calmer. We explored trying to make these moves a little bit more of a gentle wave, and it just seemed like we're trying too hard. Just pull it back a little bit and let it be a little more calm.
Okay. With regard to the prow, as you kept calling it, the thing that I know about a prow is that it typically rises, and these are still pretty two-dimensional. Did you consider doing something like that maybe rose it a little bit out of the simple plane of the podium deck?
We did. One of the, I won't dwell on the nuances of it, but it's occupied space. So how do you occupy that space without cutting off people's view? One of the main drivers over the whole design behind the balconies, the amenity deck at the second floor, and the public park is we want the building and the architecture to be activated in 3 dimensions, like people looking down into it, people looking up into it, people from the second floor participating on what's going on in the park down below, right? So as soon as you start to pull that lip up, even at the corner, suddenly you're blocking people's view, you're blocking the sound transmission, even if it's a glass screen. So we did look at that, we did look at massing options, and we discarded them. We thought, again, very, very simple expression is probably for the best.
Okay. Those are my questions.
Yes, thank you. For the public park area, so you all removed the auditorium kind of area. Did you all replace that with anything, or are we just doing open green space? Are you all incorporating anything else within that area? I know that they discussed like some art, but is there anything else that you all are planning on doing?
Yeah, to answer the first part, the amphitheater, if you will, or the stadium steps, or whatever you would like to call it, it still exists. We've detached it from the main building, and we've tucked it over on the south side of the site, almost against the facade of the office building. So we've done that for a couple of reasons. One, just the orientation of it now allows people, if you're performing on that stage or just hanging out on the stage during lunch, to really look down into the park and participate in it with the sun at your back. which makes a heck of a lot more sense. So it's very much still there, and there's a shading element over it, which is kind of a little brother.
And that's for the public, or is that for
It's
the residents?
completely for the public.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's still there. And then the public art, we'll study it with the landscape architect, and yourselves in the city in detail later, but there's definitely a desire for strong public art right there at that corner. Where exactly it is and whether it's Ernie, the tapeworm out there as we've got now, who knows what it'll be.
Okay. And then the top, what are y'all planning on doing with the top, the rooftop? All the way
So
on
that
top?
was amenity deck space for the residents of the building.
Okay.
So it's technically private to the residents and their guests.
Got it.
But it's a series of meeting rooms. There's a show kitchen, gaming room, like co-working spaces. I don't remember the exact program, but it's quite extensive.
And did you all ever consider anything like solar for the building or whatsoever? Or
We considered rather the reverse of that. One of the originating concepts behind these deep balconies, they're much deeper than code minimum, than they need to be, was actually to shade the building from the south, right? In the north facade, we don't have to worry about too much, but we want to prevent excess solar gain from entering those towers. And one of the whole ideas behind, residential high-rise buildings is as much glass as you can possibly get because it's all about the view, right? So we don't want to have, a lot of blank wall space to cut down on the amount of solar energy coming in. So those deep balconies, end up as a shading device as well. But now we just have it on all sides. As far as solar panels, no, we do not consider that.
thank you.
On the same vein of the concept of solar panels, what green features, so that was one of the comments previously, but what new green features have you integrated into the design? In addition to, I understand what you were just talking about, passive cooling, but in addition to that, do you have any other elements?
The main green feature is actually the glass.
Right.
With today's high-performance coatings, the amount of solar gain and the mitigation of that is extremely tunable. So the main feature is the quality of that glass and its solar performance without becoming, the eponymous reflective gold Dallas office building, right, from the 1980s. I mean, that's the wrong way to do it. We want the glass to be very neutral, very elegant, very clear. So you need a good, strong, high-performance coating on that glass. Beyond that, the building, sorry, forgive me.
Yeah, sorry, Scott. So just to add on to that, what we can do is we can do some solar panels on the roof, on the halo portion.
Right.
It's just the roof's very small, so 10% of that rooftop is not a lot of square footage, but we can do it around the halo. That's something we can do.
Okay.
And then like the MEP systems, we always look at doing as green as we can. So
Okay.
whatever the latest gray water code is, capturing and reusing water, we're going to look at doing that.
Okay. Thank you. I want one other question. This is more in regards to design. Again, it sounds like you went through a million iterations. Did you try anything that was more asymmetric, where one tower maybe had curves and the other one maybe was flipped and wasn't, did you try anything like that?
We did in
Yeah.
the earlier stages. I think
Okay.
from the presentation you saw in February till today,
Right.
one of the drivers on our side, at least, is make it a gateway statement, make it monumental. And we have this balance to make it monumental, make it elegant and not heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that this is profoundly more gateway than this, if you will, right? At the same time, we are, as of right, at 380 feet, right? So we can't go up to 700 feet on one, and 200 feet on the other one. At the same time, there's a financial balance of how many units do we want to build, how many do we think are marketable here, and this seems just right.
I think that's it for me for now in terms of my questions. Were all your questions answered? Okay, thank you very much for the presentation, and thank you. At this time, I don't have any other speaker cards. Are there any callers?
We do have one caller.
Okay, that would be great.
Sorry. Mr. Izan, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, for Alexander.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
You're on the air with the DRB. You can speak.
Hi, my name's Alexander Yasayan. I actually live on North Brand, and I just want to call in support of this project. And actually, I'm very happy with this redesigned presentation. I did watch the first iteration, and I wasn't really thrilled with the design. The concept, yes, it's great. That tons of housing needs to be built on that site. It's a fantastic idea. This design, I think, is actually really beautiful. I actually do think it kind of meshes with that streamlined, modern, as the architect said, that you see throughout the city. Very pleased with it. I don't like tall buildings that are pure glass, so it's really nice that there's some large kind of balcony structures that are not glass. I actually really like that Bank of America building that's next to this one because it's not all glass. There's some actual material to look at that's pleasant and the sun reflects and, nice. Besides other comments on design, let's see. The little retail area, I think, looks very nice. The renderings from the street, I walk there all the time on Brand and Central, looks good. I think they could probably refine that main entrance area further, but it's not that important because it faces Sanchez, and Sanchez is kind of a dead wasteland of freeway, and then, there's one commuter express bus stop on Sanchez currently. The park, again, I mean, I'm not sure who wants to sit there at a park on a busy street like North Brand, but I appreciate that they do need to have open space, and sure, hopefully people will find some use for it, and maybe in the future traffic will be calmed on North Brand and it'll be more usable. I just want to point out for circulation, even though it's not really that purview of the Design Review Board, there's plenty of buses on Brand and Central, so really the firm needs to be aware that they need to make that experience pleasant on both. There's important bus lines on both. So whoever's going to live there, visit there, make that experience nice, and work with DOT later. Let's see, what else? Probably not Design Review Board related, but I hope the unit mix is not just 1 and 2 bedrooms. Please throw in some 3 or 4 bedrooms if possible. That's really what's lacking in the city, so I think that would be great as well. Anyways, I'll just close our remarks saying, from a design perspective, the overall look of the building, I think it looks fantastic. I hope it gets built and not value engineered down too much. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Happy resident of Glendale. Hope it gets built. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Do we have any other callers?
Nope.
Okay, great. The applicant now has the opportunity to respond to the caller in any way. Did you want to offer? Okay, yeah, just right. Great. And do we have any other questions for the applicant? No. Okay, great. Thank you. Well, then we'll close the public portion of the hearing and open it up for comments, not deliberation in this case. Would you like to kick us off?
Yes,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you, Board Member
Madam
Walsh.
Chair. Okay, so first of all, let me just stipulate that I was not here in the February meeting, so I missed that. But I reviewed the plans from that meeting. I watched the video of it, so I got myself familiar with it. And I'd seen this project before. I think we'd seen it a couple of years ago from I don't know if it was the same developer, but in any case, what I can say is I think it is marked improvement. I appreciate, that you've brought that sort of balcony undulation throughout all 4 facades of the building. I think it is much improved. I might have looked to see a little bit more whimsy in that. I think you touched on the fact that there is some, playfulness in some of the architecture, and I think that that's something that can be used in a gateway project like this. So I think you could have gotten away with it, but I understand their perspective, more simple, more elegant, you want to set a standard. So I can appreciate that. That said, I still think you could push a little bit further. There are some places where you could, like even just at that corner intersection where you're putting your jewel up there, but your jewel is still just a roof feature on the 2nd floor in a horizontal plane. If you want to really pop it, raise it a little bit, see how you can create more drama in that, at that one point. If you did it there, I think you could maybe, stay with the understated elsewhere, because you've pulled a lot of that, focus into that intersection where it belongs. That is the primary intersection, and that is where really the gateway focus should be. So I would encourage you to do that. Speaking toward other elements and how you've responded to the board members' other comments, I think that you've really well done that. The internal circulation, getting all that circulation off of Sanchez into the building and having space allocated for that, I think you've done well. How you redesigned the public park, I think, is also very well. From a human perspective, I think it will be a much more enjoyable place for people in the park and for the users of the restaurant, where you'll have the outdoor seating that'll be facing the park. I think it'll be using the building to shield from the noise from Sanchez. And, that's because that intersection can be kind of noisy at times. So I think you've done well to create more of a sheltered area. And so I think that from a programming and planning perspective, I think it works pretty well. So that's really all my comments. Generally, I'm in support of moving this forward with a positive recommendation. So that's what I'd like to say.
Thank you. Board
Thank
Member
you.
Kisconing.
Yeah, I concur with my fellow board member. I think y'all have done a great job. I think from where it was and where it is right now, I totally agree. I do like the 360, soft wave around the building. So yeah, I think that definitely looking through it, it went from a more blockish type, in my opinion, to more, like you said, that soft tone wave. I do think it's something we do need to consider a little bit more, like solar. I think this is an opportunity for us to build something in the city of Glendale and kind of like, put a stamp that, this city is like a green city, which we aim to go towards. And, big buildings like this isn't something that gets built in the city of Glendale all the time. So like Board Member Welsh did say, if there are opportunities for you guys to play around with, certain things, I think definitely you all should do it. Consider, like the caller did say, the 3 to 4 bedrooms as well. I do live in downtown Glendale, and it is lacking in the city. I love living in downtown Glendale, and if there are not that many options for us to look for like 3 to 4 bedrooms, so I would definitely recommend looking into that option as well. Thank you for clarifying the stuff with the public park. I think definitely you'll have done a better job with it as well. And that corner, it just kind of like seems like seamless. It's just like you're just like a part of it, and then you're just like in and out. So I do appreciate that. Addressing the ride share, I do think you guys did a good job with that as well. Overall, I think the project is pretty much good. I'm excited to see it come alive. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
I concur with my colleagues. I'm really happy with the softness that now occurs along the freeway side and the more public side of this project. I similarly had hoped for a little bit more playfulness, but in particular, maybe one of the buildings being slightly different, not so twin. However, I think overall it's beautiful, and I really support the project, and I look forward to it being built. In terms of environmental features, I concur if there's a way that even the shade structures in the landscape design on the first, they could be, there are some amazing solar panels now that even allow light to filter through, or there could be something that's playful with the panels on in the landscape shading. As an example of ways to think about integrating some environmental features. But overall, I really support the project. I appreciate that you guys really address so many of our comments, and that corner is fantastic, and it is going to be a really great gateway. And I'm excited to see what public art goes on that corner. And but thank you and good luck. And yeah, I think. I don't have any other recommendations. You guys hit all of our comments from our last meeting, and I appreciate that. So thank you. Thank you.
There's no need for a motion or anything, is there?
Oh, no. So I think it's just comments.
Yeah, I guess. Do you want me to summarize what I've written down, or?
Sure, yeah.
Sorry, do you want me to summarize what I've written down, or, you know, in
That
the
would be great.
previous record of decision, you just voted present, so.
Okay, that's, what you've written down would be great to hear in
Sure.
terms of the comments, and then.
Okay. So generally, across the board, you all thought the project, the design of the project was very much improved. You appreciated that the applicant addressed most of the comments that you had previously. I think everybody said likes the sort of the four-sided balconies, the undulation incorporated from just the south side, incorporating it all on the other three elevations was great improvement. There is a desire to, push the envelope further in terms of having more whimsy in the design, more drama at the corner. Public park revisions were well done and addressed the comments. Let's see. There's a desire to incorporate more environmental features into the overall design of the building. Consider more larger 3-4 bedroom units. Those were the comments.
It's great. Perfect.
Good?
Thank you.
Okay. So what I will do then is I'll produce a similar record of decision from last time, and that will be part of the minutes, and those, or that record of decision, as well as, sort of an expanded comment section, will go to the council when they review it for stage 2.
Okay, can I just add one thing that I think all of us were in agreement that we like the design, that, we could encourage more whimsy, but they don't have to. They'd be
Okay.
fine as it is,
Yeah.
so I just want to make it
I
clear.
appreciate that clarification because I do like it, and yeah, and I support the project
Okay.
completely, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't
Right.
mean it to sound,
Okay.
not positive, but,
It was
okay.
more of a consideration.
Yeah.
Right, thank you.
All right, so we can just proceed with you voting or saying that you're present, I guess. I'm not sure. Ms. Lockraft,
Present.
Mr. Kaskanian,
Present.
and Mr. Welsh.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Too late.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Bye, thank you.
Sure.
Bye. Bye, thank you.
You too, Merry Christmas.
Bye. Okay,
Okay, should we move to the next item?
yes, please.
Okay, sure.
So the next item is 652 Robin Glen Drive, case number 002779-2024.
Please proceed, thank you.
Sure. Good evening, everyone and board members. This is a second submittal for the design review with the case number PDR-002779-2024 for proposed development located at 652 Robin Glen Drive. The first submittal was returned for redesign on August 22nd, 2024. The project site is approximately 99,000 square feet, which includes two adjoining lots with upsloping topography. The lot is located in ROS zone, and similar to the first submittal, the project is removing the existing two-story house, the attached three-car garage, the detached tennis court and game room underneath, located on the north side of the house, and also removing the existing pool and existing retaining walls. The current project is proposing 9,750 square foot house. It's a two-story house, similar to the first submittal with a detached three-car garage and a pool deck at the rear of the house. The existing house is behind the neighboring parcel that face Robin Glen Drive. The lot is accessed by a long driveway with approximately 10 foot long. That's the length of the driveway. So it's not directly facing the street. Here you can see the photos of the existing house and the story poles that are installed, which outlining the proposed house. This view is from the street, Robin Glen Drive. Here are some photos of the existing condition with the story poles viewed from the northwest side above the house, and also picture number 1 is the front of the house basically, and then picture number 2 is the rear facade. Here are more photos of the existing condition. You can see the driveway access, the detached tennis court and game room underneath. Picture number 2 shows basically the west side of the house against the hill, and we have on picture number 1 we have the view from tennis court looking into the house. For the decision made for the first submittal, the board imposed 9 conditions. I briefly go over the condition, just to remind you, however, it was not a long time ago. So condition number 1 was to reduce the proposed floor to ceiling height at the first and second floor of the house, lower the heights of the garage and pool cabana to provide better proportions, and also minimize the visual impact. Condition number 2, redesign the facades that are visible from the street, particularly the east facade, because the east facade is the facade basically partially is visible from the street, to reduce boxy appearance and monumentality of the house, and by use of stepping back the second floor to follow the site topography, providing more articulations, using various roof heights and types, and incorporating a variation of materials and colors. Condition number 3 was to revise the colors of the proposed exterior wall finishes to provide a distinct color palette. Condition number 4 was to eliminate the balcony at the second floor, east side, next to the bedroom number 5, to avoid potential privacy conflict with neighboring properties to the east. Condition number 5 was to relocate the outdoor kitchen and also HVAC condenser unit to the west side of the house. Condition number 6, redesign the deck area and retaining walls on the west side to meet the zoning code for the height restriction. Condition number 7, redesign the proposed retaining wall on the east side of the house with the project civil engineer to study the soil condition to avoid potential runoff. Condition number 9 was to revise the landscape plan to replace the proposed shrubs on the east side of the house with drought-tolerant hedges or trees that will grow tall in order to provide privacy buffer. And the last condition was to revise the proposed material for the windows to meet building and safety code or Title 24 requirements. For the site planning of the current project, current proposal, it hasn't changed significantly from what was for the first submittal. The site planning is still following the existing site planning for the location of the house. The proposed house is pushed forward to the north side by almost 30 feet, same thing. The layout of the house, location of the deck, location of the garage hasn't been changed. The only change on the proposal was to remove the proposed cabana, which you saw at the first submittal. So that cabana has been removed. So basically, the proposed site planning is following the existing site planning. Therefore, it is compatible with the neighborhood because we don't see a significant change on the grading or change of the location of the house. I should mention that the grading hasn't been changed from what we reviewed for the first time. Still around 3,000 cubic yards grading is proposed here for this project. The current submittal for the site planning meets the setback requirements, I should mention. And moving forward, I have a close-up view of the proposed site plan here. You can see the detached garage, the layout of the house, the rear deck, and you can see the retaining wall, which basically are new, and they're basically replacing the existing retaining walls. So for the condition number, so what I did basically, when we move forward from site planning to mass and scale and detailing, I'm going to mention each condition and how the project addresses each condition. For the condition number 5, which was to relocate the barbecue counter and HVAC condenser to the west side of the house, this condition has been addressed. For the condition number 6, the deck area and retaining wall on the west side and at the rear of the house have been redesigned to meet the height restriction. The maximum height of the new retaining walls when they are not behind the house and garage is not more than 5 feet now, and all retaining walls are outside of the 3-foot interior setbacks to meet the zoning code, and the rear deck will have a maximum height of 14 feet from the bottom of the deck to the top of the railing, meeting the zoning code requirements. So we covered 3 conditions. On the east side, also a new retaining wall has been designed. For condition number 8, if you remember, the project includes 1 oak tree, and the project was proposing to keep that, and still the same. The project is maintaining the oak tree. There was the new landscaping is proposed, which is drought tolerant. Most of the existing landscaping also is going to stay. And there was a condition to revise the landscape plan for the proposed shrubs at the east side of the house. This condition has been addressed now. We have new drought tolerant trees, which they're named Catalina Ironwood. And according to my research, they are going to grow about 20 to 35 feet high. As you remember, the project is located within the neighborhood of mix of 1 and more 2-story houses with various architectural style. The style and characters and details of the project hasn't been changed. We don't see change of the architectural style here. Staff believes the style and architecture and detail of this house still is compatible with the neighborhood context. However, in order to provide better proportion and avoid the sense of monumentality, as well as to minimize the visual impact, the project was redesigned to address condition number 2, which was related to articulation on the facade that are visible from the street, particularly the east facade. The redesign reduces the boxy appearance of the house by stepping back the 2nd floor on the east side. The roof design has also revised to create various roof heights, form, and also the various roof pitches. The roof pitches that are proposed include 3 feet in 12 feet, 4 feet in 12 feet, and 5 feet in 12 feet. The roof includes a hipped roof and flat roof in the center. For condition number 3, the colors of the proposed limestone finish and stucco has been revised as well. And what was the other condition? The balcony next to the bedroom, which is this bedroom, has been removed. Also, the balcony on the other side also has been removed, which is the west side. In order to comply with the condition number 1, the current design reduces the proposed floor to ceiling height of 13 feet and 6 inches at the first floor to 11 feet and 6 inches. And also the original proposal was for 11 feet and 6 inches floor to ceiling height at the second floor. Now in the current design, we have 9 feet and 6 inches floor to ceiling for the second floor. The overall height of the building has been reduced from the original proposed 32 feet 11 inches to 30 feet and 11 inches. Also, according to this condition, the height of the garage has been reduced from 15 feet to 12 feet and 6 inches. So overall, with the modification in the exterior colors, material, second floor setback on the east facade, reduction of the overall height of the house, staff believes that this redesign meets the intent of the DRB conditions in order to provide better proportions and avoiding the sense of monumentality. So on this slide, I put the roof plans from the first submittal and the current submittal side by side, and I'm for your review, and I'm going to move forward and show you the other facades of the house from the first submittal and the current submittal that we have, so you can compare them. On this slide, I have the front facade and rear facade from what was approved, what was reviewed for the first time, and whatever is proposed now. If you want more time, let me know. So I can move to the next slide. Here is the side elevations. We have the east and west side, and you can see the changes on the colors and configuration of the roof and step back.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And I have the floor plans from the first submittal and for the current proposal for the first floor and for the second floor on this slide. And I do have a close-up view. So let me know if you want to focus on this slide or I can move forward.
You could move forward, thank you.
So here is the first floor of what we have right now in the proposal. And this is the second floor. So the rear balcony basically has been reduced only to this area in the center. And what we have in this slide is two section drawings, east to west and north to south. Relation between the proposed garage, house, and the rear deck on this slide. And also this is the section, this is the section that cuts through the deck, pool deck area at the rear of the house. And you can see the relation between the neighbors on the east side. On the west side, as you notice, it's a hill. On this slide, you can see the proposed materials, colors, and detailing. We don't have significant change from what was proposed for the first time. The color of the limestone and stucco has changed. The windows now are going to be thermal steel windows that they're meeting Title 24 requirements. The windows are proposed to be recessed and have what it called trim and seal molding, basically, precast molding. And I have here renderings of the front facade. Here is the rear facade. And here is the east side and rear side of the house. And here is the rendering after growing the trees. And at the end, in conclusion, staff recommends approval of this second submittal with one condition to obtain required permits from the Maintenance Services Division or Urban Forestry to protect the existing oak tree on the site. For the record, staff did not receive any public comments for this design review application. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Do the board members have questions? We don't have questions.
Actually, sorry, I have a question. Can you go back to where it addressed the condition number 4, where it was eliminate the balcony next to bedroom 5 east side, the before and after.
Floor plan?
Yeah. Where you had like the design, it showed like the condition where it was.
This is the so let me show you this one, probably this is a slide.
Okay.
So this is what was proposed to us for the first time.
Yep.
For the second floor balcony, and this is what we have now for the second floor layout and second floor balconies.
Cool. Thank you.
Actually, I do a follow-up on that. There was a condition that talked about stepping back the property to reflect more of the topography. Can you point out how that condition was met?
So here on the, since we have a topography, let me go probably to this slide. So since we have this topography here, and this was for the facade that is visible from the street, meant to be the east facade, and then here we see the setback at the second floor. If I remember correctly, it was around 2.5 feet setback from the first floor.
And there had been no setback previous?
Previously, no. I can go back to show you the elevation drawings. So if you look at the proposed second floor on this slide, you see the line here is in line with the first floor wall. On the current proposal, you see the first floor wall here underneath, and we have the second floor wall for the bedroom, or I'm not sure if it's a closet, here on this side. So that indicates the setback and how it has changed from the first submittal.
Okay.
I have a question in regards to the overall height. Can you please remind me, what is the height difference between the original submission and the current submission? 2 feet. Okay, got it.
We have more significant reduction in the floor to ceiling height, but because we have now the roof which is higher than the previous roof because of the pitch, new pitches, that's why the height hasn't changed according to the floor to ceiling. So it's only 2 feet reduction.
Okay.
Should mention the maximum height limit here is 35 feet.
Okay, thank you.
They're proposing 30 feet and 11 inches.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Do we have any other
I'm good,
questions?
thank you.
Okay, that's all for our questions right now. And can the designer please come forward? Welcome, please, welcome back, please.
Evening, Stephanie Horosh, designer. Nice to meet you, and nice to see you again. So thank you, Aileen, for the presentation. Appreciate it. So as Aileen mentioned, we were really focused on maintaining the overall and original design of the house, and because it was it was our vision for the owner to keep the aesthetic. But with the conditions, we went back to the drawing board and we evaluated all of the options to, address all of them with keeping in mind the original design of the house. That being said, we did reduce the floor to ceiling height on the first floor from 13.5 to 11.5, and then and then on the second floor from 11 to 9.5. So it's a total of 3.5 feet reduction in terms of like the habitable space. But then knowing that we had to also work with the different roof types and then like different roof lines to lower some of them, especially on the east side. 60% of the roof area has been reduced from, I want to say from 32 feet 11 to 28.7 feet. So that was like 60% of reduction in the whole roof line. That was reduced, especially on the east side, but because we wanted to make sure that everything is proportional and everything is mirrored, we took a center line and we created that lowering of that roof on either side of the house, and then the center was kept at a bigger pitch. And that was to create a more balanced view from the street level and also from any point of the house, around the house, to see some of that variation of the roof line. in order to reduce the massing scale and the overall monumentality of the mass coming out from first the shell, but also the roof line, which is why we detached it and we lowered, we sank in some of the 60% of the roof and kept the original for the center. And that was really to make sure that we addressed more of the comment for the east side, because we have neighbors on the east side and not on the west side. But for the integrity of the house, we kept a center line, and we just re-evaluated the whole symmetry of the house. So apart from reducing a total of 3.5 feet on the inside of the shell, and also reducing from 32 feet and 11 inches total to 28.7 feet height, we also revised the whole east side facade by stepping the second floor 2.7 feet from the first floor. That is just giving a better massing detachment from the first floor, so it doesn't look like one big structure coming in two stories. So that being said, like the second floor has been stepped in 2.7 feet, but also we added a cornice detail all along the house, so it wraps up from the back to the side, to the front, and to the west side, and that just helps with the visual impact of just two-story walls, but just a detachment of that mass. We also created a green wall between where we have the staircase. So basically, additionally to the 2.7 feet offset from the first floor inward into the house, we created a vertical green wall where the staircase is proposed, so that the house doesn't feel as blocky, as monumental as it used to be on the first submittal. We also revised the palette, the limestone, and the plaster. So I brought some samples because I feel like sometimes the rendering doesn't really help, especially when the lighting is not proper. So the original design was really proposing more like this type of palette, which is like very blending. And then the second design is showing a stucco that is just, one tone darker. So you do feel that there's like two elements blending in together without being so similar. But we still want to keep a very cohesive and functional aesthetic, and not dividing two different, very distinct color, because I don't think that's the vision for the house, and then that's not even the vision for the architectural side of the house. As far as the balcony in the bedroom number 5, we did completely decrease the whole balcony spanning over one bedroom towards. Oh, my time is up. Okay. No, just the trellis area that we created on both sides where we eliminated the balcony. That's creating just more of like a lighter appearance, and not just like the slab that is not going through, but it's more like open. So that's really helping also on the monumentality phase of it. Many questions?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I was not here for the earlier meeting, so I have to look at this from a fresh perspective. So please forgive me if there's questions that you thought might have already been addressed. But there's a plan to have 3,000 cubic feet of grading. Why so much grading?
So there's an existing tennis court in the back. This tennis court is 9 feet above the finished floor of the existing house. We're proposing to completely demolish this tennis court and put it at grade level.
Why?
Because, one, they don't need the tennis court anymore. It was like very obstructing. And two, they want to create a nice lawn area for their kids to play. So And in the back, in the rear area, they don't really have an expensive grass area. So I think that's just a better usage of their land.
Did you explore looking at just removing the tennis court and creating a lawn area there?
Yes, we did, but that was not the intention that the owners wanted, because you still have to take a good amount of steps to get there. They have 3 small kids, and they wanted to have everything at eye level so they can see their kids playing, get them home when they need to.
Okay. So the next question is about, obviously this is a very palatial home and design, and it's best appreciated from a distance. I think when I watched the earlier hearing, I heard you guys talk about a villa in the countryside and approaching it from a distance. And for an opposing design like this, I think you need some of that perspective. If you imagine a Beverly Hills, mansion, you go down a long drive to approach a home that is of this kind of a grandeur. In this case, you're approaching a long drive, but when you hit the entryway, you're like right next to the house. You can't actually see the house from there. So you won't really have the perspective of seeing the grandeur of the house because you'll be like right next to it. So you kind of miss out on the ability to cast this in the way that I think that it is begging to be cast because of how the driveway is positioned relative to where the house is, because you pulled it so far out into that driveway space. So I'm just questioning why that site planning was chosen that way, because it kind of takes away the value of such grandeur that you're trying to do. Because I think that what you're trying to do is build a very grand home. I understand that. It's a big lot. You can get away with a much larger lot, a much larger home than typically you could. But I don't think that you're necessarily helped by that site planning decision. So I'm wondering why you chose to do it that way, and if you'd thought about maybe reworking that. There's no reason you have to position the home right there on that piece of dirt. It could be pushed back. It could be made into an L shape, pushed back against the hillside perhaps, to give more visibility to the house from the perspective of somebody coming up that long driveway.
Well, the problem with that, so we have a very complex site, and the more you actually push, the steeper it gets. So we also have a lot of constraint in the back in that deck area that we had to revise a few times to be able to meet the retaining wall zoning requirements. So the more you try to detach the house away from the driveway, the steeper it's going to get, and the more difficult it's going to be to achieve, reaching those numbers. So that's one thing. The second thing, if you do an L shape, you will never get a house that looks like this custom Tuscan style European chateau. Like, it just doesn't look this way if you have an L-shaped house. It's going to definitely be, it will have a vibe of a more modern style. So, and if you look at all of those homes, and I'm from Europe, so I grew up there, it's very typical, mansions that are very in terms of massing, they are more square, and then they are articulated in a way that creates programs. So you won't be able to get that effect, basically, in terms of like types of house that you're looking for and types of style. So that's one thing, but also the grading and the site is really challenging. The more you go away, the more you step out from the driveway area, the steeper it's getting, and then the retaining wall gets really out of the zoning requirement.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I was also just, if I was hoping that, could you bring up the east elevation? I just was hoping you could walk us through. You were talking about the roof height changes that you made, and I just was hoping that you could do that while it was on the screen here to understand what you meant, you were mentioning 28 feet, so it was quite a bit lower, but only on the east side, is that what you're
Exactly.
saying?
So if you look, yeah, this area
Okay.
here, everything that is facing the east side has been lowered from 32 foot 11
Okay.
to 28.7 feet.
Okay.
So everything has been going down on this side. And then if you see like this area here is where the original height was.
Okay,
But we mirror the 28.7 feet to the other side of that wing.
okay,
so-
so the center is the only one that remains
Exactly.
larger?
And it's
Okay.
only the back and the front, and then the middle is flat because we couldn't connect them. Otherwise, the roof would be overwhelmingly high over there. So we decided to go down, but
Okay.
flat. That way, we just diminish the look of it
Okay.
and the aesthetic of the roof.
And I had a question while we're on this image regarding the window treatment on the second floor. Why just that one window has the detailing?
Because it was the only one that was different from all of them, so we just decided to just articulate it a little bit more, to pronounce the basically the change of scope in the area. Right now, this is like a media room or an area for the desk for the kids to do their homework, and the other ones are just bathroom windows. So we just wanted to differentiate that window because it was different in terms of typology.
Right. And in regards to what Board Member Welsh was mentioning in terms of the grandeur, did you consider on this side doing anything? Did you explore any other options in terms of window openings or sizes?
On the east side, in terms of the window openings,
Yeah.
we basically, from the first time that we presented, we didn't have any issue with the window placement.
Right.
Because every window is very specifically positioned or located in the bathroom.
Right.
But
Okay.
then just that window is in the homework area, so we just decided to do a very delicate accentuation on the seal with a precast element that would match the stucco color. And as you can see here very, very clearly, the deck, the bedroom balcony has been reduced tremendously from the
Yes.
outside line to a more of a Juliet balcony, just to be able to outswing the doors to accept some natural ventilation inside the bedroom, and have a trellis, basically just making the allowing for the patio structure to be a lot more lighter in terms of visibility of view and aesthetic, and also provide natural light coming into the bottom patio.
Thank you. I think that's it in terms of our questions. Thank you very much. Thank you. And I do have a speaker card from a neighbor, Kim Kaiser. Welcome. Hi, welcome, and please state your name.
I'm Kim Kaiser. I live at the property on the east side at 648.
And just to let you know, when you hear a bell go off, that's
No
that's
worries.
him, just to give you a heads up.
First and foremost, just thank you for the time tonight and also addressing the concerns of the privacy of reduction. I appreciate what we saw. I think our concern continues to be primarily your previous concerns of number 7 and 8. Reading the geotechnical survey and really addressing the significant amount of excavation that's going to happen on that property. Our house is immediately below on an extraordinarily steep slope on that east side, all the way to the back master bedroom across through our pool area. It's extraordinarily steep. And currently, we experience quite a bit of runoff of rain as well as soil that comes off at different periods of time during rainy season and other times. Currently, at the property line, there is a chain link fence that is trying to catch what seems to be a lot of dirt and leaves and organic debris. And so that has been somewhat problematic, as well as it's starting to really bow. We had talked about a potential for some retaining wall on that east slope previously, and although it does look like there is one up very close to the new home site, there does not seem to be any breakage of that slope from then the property above down to our backyard line. Also, with the plantings that are proposed, we appreciate now that we'll get an extraordinary amount of privacy when those trees come to maturity. But recently, we unfortunately have experienced losing our homeowners insurance due to fire zone changes. And when we tried to obtain our house to be fire certified, we had challenges with the amount of shrubbery that is on that slope currently. We did extraordinary amounts of trimming. None of that shrubbery above that fence belongs to us, but we continue to have to try to maintain it to keep it off. It currently hangs over and grows onto our roof. Even with that, we were not able to obtain fire certification, and now are having to experience getting the California Fair Market Plan. And as you know, that's got some considerable risk, both to cost and the ability to obtain it. We're hoping that it will be okay. We've just gotten pictures taken of it again after the trees were all trimmed. And so we are hopeful that we will be able to attain insurance. But our challenges continue to be that the design has a lot of large trees, and fire safety code says, according to the insurance market now, you can't have anything more than 10 foot in diameter, and it has to have 10 feet of blank space with shrubbery that's less than 1 foot in between each of those 10-foot plantings. So that really will remove the privacy piece. And so that's just really my biggest concern.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And do we have any callers as well?
I can check very quick. We do not have any
Thank you.
caller.
Appreciate it. Sorry, did you say?
do not have
you
any
don't?
caller.
Okay. The applicant can come forward, and if you want to address any of the comments, the public comments, that would be great.
So basically, we created a retaining wall on the side here. That retaining wall is going to be less than 5 feet. We also had the landscape architect design in a way that we're going to have plant shrubs that are going to grow up to 22 feet or 30 feet, depending on the species, the exact size of the tree that you selected that we're going to pick, because the two of them can grow in different sizes. So the privacy is definitely going to be addressed in that area. There will be also grass. I think there will be some discussion that we're going to have with the civil engineer in terms of like how the water will be retained in this area, how it will be drained, how it will be collected and drained away from the neighbor. I believe what we could do is have from the middle point where the grass wall is, we can drain it in two ways. So whatever when the water collects, it could drain off on this side and then drain away from the property line and then from the neighbor's property. So there will be a different discussion that we will have to have with the civil engineer, with the soil engineer, and we'll have to collect different solutions, see what the items will be.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, there's also rain gardens that works very well, and we have a lot of space there. Right. The area is pretty deep, so we could create a rain garden, and that will, collect the water.
Okay, thank you very much. That's all. Thank you. Okay. Now we'll close the public portion of the hearing and open it up for deliberation. Board Member Kaskanian.
Yep. Thank you so much, Madam Chair. First off, thank you very much for the presentation and coming back after, I know last meeting we had, there was a full list, so appreciate you going over it. Appreciate you addressing a lot of the concerns of the community members that we had. I'm overall in support of the project. I do think, this is your all dream home, and everyone deserves to live in their dream home, right? So I do support the project. I would just add, just in regards to, and I remember this was a conversation that we had last time, and thank you all again so much for coming back. I remember you from last time as well. With just a runoff, I don't know if that's something that we would potentially put as a condition on our end. But I do think that's something that we do need to address because it was brought up last time and we did have it as a condition as well. So just so that, the civil engineers do look into that. But overall, I am in support of the project and looking forward to you building the dream home.
Board Member Walsh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So again, I'll say again, I missed the other hearing, so I have to come at this from a fresh perspective. And unfortunately, I can't agree with my fellow board member here. I think that you didn't do what I heard from hearing to the meeting, which was to really scale back the house so that it was really stepping with the topography. Moving it 2 feet and some inches away from that doesn't address that. It is still a very prominent, visible second story, which towers over the neighboring house. It's clearly visible from the street. And I don't think that that was what was intended by the board during that, and I concur with that. I think that that's second story on the east side there is overpowering in its presence there. And again, I come back to my earlier position when I was asking you questions, that this house, is set up to be viewed from a distance, and it will look very nice and majestic, and it is definitely a well-designed home. I'll grant you that. It is very well designed, very elegant, very, in keeping with, I think, what you're going for. But I'm just concerned that the actual result of it, from the perspective of the homeowners and the people visiting the home, is not going to be what you see in this image. You're never really going to get that view of the house because it's so close to the driveway, it's so close to the garage. So I don't think that you're actually going to experience that. So I also think that grading 3,000 cubic yards of soil to create a lawn is not something I can make findings for. The design guidelines specify that grading should be minimized. It should be done when it is necessary. And to create a flat lawn is not in keeping with the design guidelines. So I do not support that. I think that it would have been a better site planning decision to have used the space where the rec room is. You could push it maybe back. You could do some excavation to push it back, create a larger sort of motor court there between the house and the garage, but then have the yard above that. Keep that sort of plane where the tennis court is. You could maybe even extend that above the roof of the garage, so you'd have a larger area. But to do the excavation just for the purposes of a lawn is not acceptable in my mind. So because I can't make those findings that it follows the topography as stipulated in the earlier condition, and that I don't think that the grading is for a justifiable reason, I'd be voting for no on the proposal or for a return for redesign. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
It's not grading, by the way, it was a fill.
We cannot have cross-communication, and also the public portion has been closed.
Yes, thank you. I would say I concur with Board Member Welsh in that I had expected more of a setback to occur on that east side. I do appreciate the vegetation that was proposed to try to mask that, but I think that, for instance, if the fire department then says, no, you can't have that vegetation, then we're back in the position where it does seem like an overbearing structure above the home below. So I would say at a condition to have a greater setback to follow the topography to meet design guidelines would be, but I would also like to say that I concur with my colleagues that you clearly have a beautiful design sense and that it's on the right path. It just needs, I think, that to meet those design guidelines in terms of following the topography so that it doesn't overwhelm the house below. And then, in terms of drainage, I concur. The fill, I think, was something that we had discussed a bit at the last, and I don't like a lot of grading, but I also understand that it wasn't necessarily a natural condition because there was a tennis court built there. So I think if there was a way to minimize that, that could be a great condition too, but to minimize the amount of excavation, but not eliminating it altogether. I guess I was trying, maybe some kind of compromise there. Yeah, I'd love to hear in terms of, I would like to hear whether this is a resubmit for redesign. I would love to hear your thoughts.
I personally don't think it needs to be redesigned, but I know Board Member Welsh might think otherwise. Because I know last time we had a pretty much lengthy conversation with applicants, and they did pretty much a lot of the things.
They did many.
Yeah, they did a lot of it. So in my opinion, I think the conditions that we've stated, I mean, if there are any conditions you all want to add in regards to the tennis courts and regards to minimizing it, but I do think that because there are portions of the backyard that we already told them that they need to minimize and they need to remove, the front yard is going to be their potential, space for, their kids to run around, and I get that point. So for me, I don't think so, but I'd like to hear what you all think too.
Yeah, I'd say for me, the one condition that I don't feel was addressed at all was that following the topography.
Mm-hmm.
That's the really big one that I feel is hard to evaluate without seeing that happening. So that's why I'm leaning towards redesign, was for that one portion. But yeah.
Well, I mean, again, I'm looking at this as a
Right.
de novo hearing for me
Right.
because I wasn't
Right.
part of the early
Right.
one. So I'm trying to, hear what your conditions were, and that was really the one that jumped out at me.
Right.
The additional grading on the tennis court is something that I don't think was discussed really
Right.
in any detail. And the amount, basically what the situation is that the tennis court is significantly higher, right?
Right. Right.
So the goal that they're doing is to bring that all down to the same plane as the home.
Right.
So that's where all the excavation is coming from. So despite hearing that it's all fill, but it's not fill, it's actually cut, because they're bringing that down to the plane of the first floor of the house. That's where I have a problem with it, because they're basically doing it to create a big motor court and a lawn covered with artificial turf. And I don't find that's a good enough reason for that amount of grading. The amount of grading that we're talking about will require a huge amount of trucks going up and down that street, constantly pulling soil out of there. Doesn't need to be done that way. So that's why the design guidelines are very clear that you should be minimizing grading when you're talking about hillside properties, so that there's, a real good reason for it. And this is not one of those good reasons.
I think what was meant was that, or what I recall was that it was, under the tennis courts was fill. They're removing old fill, I guess is what
I see what you're saying. Okay, so it's old fill, but
they're versus like natural topography, which is a little bit different than, is that correct? Okay.
Yes,
Right.
if you allow me, yes, most of the grading here is happening by what was built in 1977 for the tennis court to be removed. And what I heard from the community members for the first submittal, they called me, several members of the neighbors called me, and they were so happy with this tennis court to be removed. So their first question they were asking, like, are they keeping the tennis court? Because it's our privacy conflict for us, and we don't like it. And then as soon as I was saying the tennis court would be removed, they're like, okay, we like the project, and we're okay with that if they're removing tennis court. And grading, it's for natural grading, not the grading that was built in 1977, 1976, so in order to create the tennis court. At this point, for the concern about stepping back more, probably you're talking about the east facade. I can suggest maybe conditions for the certain number to be set back, like 5 feet, 6 feet, second floor, first floor, in order to help the project to move forward. Because if that's the only concern, can be easily conditioned, and staff can take care of the condition and look at the redesign and work with the applicant for that.
Okay. that seems like a fair proposal to me.
It's up to- it's
Yeah,
up to
no,
you, so-
no. Yeah, I think that's, if we can condition that, that seems like a fair,
If you can come up with a certain number, usually we do not,
right?
but for this situation, maybe you would like to mention a number.
I'll be honest, I almost want to remove, and this is pretty dramatic perhaps, but, you know, removing this portion almost of the building, I feel like it needs to be a fairly significant setback. And so it's hard to come up with a number.
May I go to the floor plan and look at that area? So we're talking about bedroom number 3 and also playroom in this area.
Right. I mean, it's only a couple feet currently, right? It's such a small amount of setback. We're,
22 feet, I believe, around 22 feet from here to the side.
oh, I see.
area.
I see. And what's the distance from the facade? I see, and the nice thing right now is that it, because it is forward, it allows it to have some undulation at the stair. So in some ways, just thinking it through in terms of how it's going to look overall. It's hard without.
With that significant condition of removing this site or reducing the size significantly for this area, maybe they can come up with a new configuration for the playroom, but at the end of the day, they will lose one bedroom here.
In that location, right. Yeah, I do feel like it needs to go back at least, you know, to where the stair wall is, for instance. Not there, sorry,
This one?
That correct.
Okay.
Yeah,
That is almost 6 feet or
6 feet.
6 and 9 inches. Let me look at the drawings.
aesthetically, that would make sense to me.
There's ample opportunity to
It's
rework
6
the
feet and
program.
9
Right,
inches.
there's so much program,
so
yeah.
yes.
Yeah, so an additional 6 feet,
6 feet and 9 inches.
Right.
That notch that we see there.
right, to the, be in alignment with that notch would make sense
If you
aesthetically
agree
to me.
with that condition, we can certainly condition it that way.
Okay,
They will end up with losing the playroom and then have a bedroom, new setup for the bedroom in that area, so it can be redesigned.
right,
We don't have a chance to speak with the applicant at this point, but what I'm trying to say, we may come up with a condition, and then if the applicant is not happy, they may redesign the entire thing a different way.
right, to have that setback. And I would say, just to be clear, that the total setback would need to be, right now, it's 2 feet, and then in addition to that, that's 6
In
feet.
addition to 2.7 feet, I think she
Correct.
mentioned,
Correct,
to have an additional 6 feet and 9 inches setback for the second floor on the east facade.
okay. And, I mean, that sounds good to me. What do my fellow board members, how do you feel about that?
Oh, I think Joseph is the
Joseph, yeah, you're right.
And you're suggesting it be the 2 plus 6?
Correct. So do you see where the wall is, where the stair comes up and there's
Yep.
a wall where it recesses just
I
on
got
the
it.
second floor to be in alignment with that wall? And I feel like there's so much room in terms of area that they can reconfigure things in the floor plan to still get what they need with that reduction.
Yep. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
If you want to put that as a condition
Just
to move forward.
to not be so massive on that view.
For the area of
Okay.
the bedroom number 3 and playroom area, okay.
So is it gonna remove the entire bedroom at this point and playroom,
No.
or?
Just, can you point to with your cursor,
This is the bedroom area, and this is called playroom area.
Yeah.
right. But in terms of where we're talking, can you point to the, it's
Up
just
to
to
here.
there.
Yes.
So there's still the whole playroom essentially. It's just is it a bathroom or something like that?
Yeah,
that
there's
is-
a full bathroom and also a walk-in closet.
Right. That gets impacted.
Yeah, so basically you'd lose the playroom. You'd probably move the bathroom and closet to the rest of the playroom area.
Yeah, you're just going to lose it.
I think
Find a
it will
playroom somewhere.
work,
Yeah.
and it will help the project to move forward if we go
Okay.
with that condition. There was a concern about runoff
Right.
on that east side. That's not clearly a planning and zoning condition, but
Correct.
we can add that as a condition, and during the plan check, I can confirm with Public Works Engineering to look at that situation, and also Building and Safety. I'm sure they are always asking about the drainage of the site for a project in this scale, but that would be more emphasized of making sure that they have a solution. And they are clearly showing how the drainage is going to work on that side,
Right.
east side of the
Okay.
hill.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
We-
just thinking through that. It's such a precise amount that I was thinking, is it, without seeing it again, it's hard to say that that 6 feet in its entirety is needed. But I hate to be prescriptive, I guess is what I'm getting at. So prescriptive.
Sometimes maybe it work, but it's
Yeah.
up to you guys how you want to make the decision.
Yeah, okay. Sounds
I
good.
just know how the applicant designer really worked hard and.
Yeah,
for-
I know, I agree. It met all the conditions otherwise, so.
Yeah.
I agree. I want to move it forward. It's just a matter of that distance being so prescriptive. But I'd say yes. Okay, let's stick with 6 feet. And then, do we have a motion?
Yeah, motion to, well, do you want to read like the current conditions that we have?
So it will be 3 conditions total to obtain urban forestry approval, to make sure that you get approval for the drainage system from Public Works Department, and to set back the second floor on the east facade, in addition to what they're proposing, 6 feet and 9 inches additional, to basically reduce the second floor in the area of the playroom and bedroom number 3. That would be the condition.
Okay, great.
Okay. Motion to approve.
Do we have a second?
I'll second it, but I'll be voting no, but, okay.
Okay.
Okay. This is a roll call. Board Member Welch,
No.
Board Member Kaskanian,
Yes.
Madam Chair Leclerc.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Can I use the restroom break?
You want to take a 5-minute break?
Yeah, well, I'm sorry. We'll take a recess at this time.
We'll take a recess.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So the next case is 1317 Thompson Avenue, Design Review Board, case number 003041-2024. And the case planner is Ellen Lambert.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lockeroff and board members Cascani and Welch and Senior Planner Toledo. Good evening, members of the public. My name is Alan Lamberg, and I am the case planner for this project. The application under consideration is design review at 1317 Thompson Avenue. The proposal, applicant Isabella Moyajian proposes to demolish an existing 1,616 square foot single-family dwelling built in 1925 to construct a new two-story, 2,355 square foot single-family dwelling, two-story, with an attached rear covered patio, a detached two-car garage accessible from the street, and a swimming pool, all on the site, which is just under 8,000 square feet. The project qualifies as a Class 3 new construction or conversion of small structures exemption pursuant to CEQA, because it's an urbanized area, site is zoned for such use. There's no hazardous substances involved. All public services and facilities are available. The surrounding area is non-environmentally sensitive, and the property is not a historic resource nor eligible as such. As you can see, the project is located in the El Miradero neighborhood of West Glendale near West Kenneth Road. And in the location, it is in the R1 zone, which is a low-density residential floor area ratio District 1. It's an interior lot with a rear alley. The lot features a gentle slope and is regularly shaped. And the neighborhood consists of mostly single-story, single-family houses. However, the address is shaded in the green here at 1329, and further down the block at 1369 Thompson, were approved in May and June of this year as two-story projects. In this exhibit, in the plans, there's an exhibit here, featured here in the screen, that includes an illustration of the project's first and second floor building envelopes in relation to the existing house. The existing house is the tan footprint, and then the first and second floor. The first is that little pink maroon, and then the red is the second floor. And as you see in the neighboring houses with their windows are featured as well. That's to demonstrate no impacts to privacy. In this rendering view from the street, existing and proposed side by side, the existing house is a Spanish colonial, and the new house is a modern architectural style featuring a dynamic rectangular base with a flat roof, floor-to-ceiling windows, and an entry door, and planter elements. In the site plan, a view from above, existing and proposed side by side. The building envelope is within required setbacks. The dotted line here illustrates appropriate mass and scale for the second floor. The second story is appropriately set back from the front of the house, reducing the massing from the street level. The site features design-appropriate driveway, a walkway, gate, and fence locations. The driveway access leads to mid-block or mid-lot parking, aligning with the neighborhood patterns and reducing street-level massing. And as conditioned, the project will protect and provide for city-owned and indigenous trees. This is a landscape plan. It's a view from above. It's tilted so we can see some details of living plant material as proposed. As you can see, oh yeah, and in this kind of close-up view, you see more detail of the pergola patio on the rear and the garage and pool location. In the floor plans, this is the first floor plan and the second floor plan side by side. In the first floor, which is on the left side of the screen, that features a living room facing the street, and behind are areas for guest room, dining, and kitchen. And the rear covered patio back here is about 297 square feet. In the second floor plan on the right side, it features 2 balconies, a bedroom and bathroom facing the street. And behind are a stairwell, an office, 2 more bedrooms, 2 more baths, and 2 more balconies. The largest balcony is directly over a portion of the rear covered patio. The roof plan, which is a view from above, outlines the flat roof for the first and second floors with skylights, balconies, and the patio pergola. In the elevations, we see here in this screen, the elevations south and west, and also with the detached garage, and east and north. And here below are also the detached garage. In these 2 screens, as you can see, the design and detailing are modern style with a rectangular base, flat roof, floor-to-ceiling windows, entry door and planter elements, and in keeping with the neighborhood's architectural styles, uses materials like white smooth stucco, composite wood textures, the flat roof, and slim matte black window frames, and that rear covered patio pergola here. As you can see on the bottom slide, it's like an L shape. We'll see more detail in a moment. And then sections here, the section drawing shows 10-foot floor to ceiling height on the first floor, 9 feet on the second floor, and no floor area underneath. Anything under 6 feet, that is for basement areas, anything under 6 feet does not count towards floor area, so the basement is not considered floor area. At this time, it's a crawl space as illustrated. For design and detail, let's look from clockwise. So up here, kind of at the 1 o'clock, we'll start from here. That's driveway pavement, which is exposed aggregate concrete. It's a mixture of color, black and brown and white. Here, the garage door is matte black smooth steel. Here, at 4 o'clock, the exterior wall light fixtures, they're linear, they're dark sky compliant. The siding, this brown siding, that is Belgian board composite. Over here is smooth stucco for the siding. Over here at, say, 7 o'clock, we're looking at the floor tiles on the porch. And here are the step stones for the walkway. And at 9 o'clock in the center, you're looking at the fence and gate. They're linear metal railings. They're going to be in the interior yard. There's some of the interior yard is screened by a fern pine landscaping with a 36-inch high stucco boundary wall. And up here is an illustration, a rendering of the patio pergola from the product catalog. It's aluminum, powder coated, dark bronze or black with light beige louver. Here are the renderings of the front and side elevations. The house massing is broken up with varying low-pitched roof lines, projecting volumes, fenestration, and uncovered balconies, and changes in facade planes. Publicly visible windows are recessed with some stucco edge and others with a black trim. It includes casement picture or fixed, as seen from the front here. Other windows are either fixed or casement or awning, or some smaller windows or sliders. City Department provided some comments from Public Works, Urban Forester regarding city street trees, Public Works Engineering Land Development regarding an alley dedication, Community Services and Parks regarding the impact fee, and then, of course, GWP for their normal comments about customer service for electric power and potable water for water. Otherwise, there have been no public comments received for this project. Given all the information presented here and in the staff report, staff recommends that the entitlement for design review be approved with the following 3 conditions. That, number 1, to submit a revised site plan and elevations and roof plans and any construction details for review and approval before plan check, and really just to make sure that we include any equipment, enclosures, rain gutters, downspouts, vents and utility connections, roof protrusions, any of those minor details, and just to ensure that they match the building's materials and colors. Number two, to protect city-owned and indigenous trees, just by updating the forestry note and accurately showing existing city street tree and planting a second city street tree, and to coordinate with Public Works, Urban Forestry. And lastly, third, to dedicate a 2.5-foot wide strip of land along the alley frontage to the city for alley use, and also removing or relocating existing private improvements such as the wall adjacent to the alley, and to coordinate with Public Works Engineering section for any other public improvement conditions. This concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions, and thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. Do we have any questions? I don't have any questions at this time either. Thank you very much for your presentation.
Pleasure.
And can the applicant, please, or the designer, please come forward? And please state your name and welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. So my name is Isabella Boyajian, and I am the designer for this project. And I work closely with city, with staff, and with Alan. I appreciate very much for his guidance. And I tried to do project as compact as possible for the site. So with its minimalistic style, it won't be too minimalistic to affect the neighborhood features, when I observed very well. So there are wood finishings involved and stuccos and windows. I try to maintain in a way so it won't be very much dramatically big. So if they are long, they are narrow, and from interior side, they are very functional. So, and I try to maintain also solar orientation as much as possible, so to bring as much as light possible to bedrooms. So luckily, the site is working with the benefits to the project that I did. So, and I tried also to minimize issues with the privacies with neighboring properties. So that's why most of the bigger windows are located into the back side of the property for the, let's say, master bedroom, I'm sorry. And then, so the side that is more closer, which is the left side of the property, it's, so I have mainly awning type of windows for bathrooms. So trying to avoid bedroom windows on that side. Yeah, so, and we have horizontal divider, that ribbon, that creates a cut of proportions towards vertical way, so it won't affect much like a dramatic view from the front side. So yeah, that's all. And we have pergola, that's for like adjacent to the kitchen. So summertime, the family can have dinner outside, and it's smart pergola. So, but not completely decided yet with the owners yet. So I look for recommendations. Depends on the price. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions for?
What color is the stucco exactly?
It will be beige, light beige.
Light beige color?
Because the neighborhood is, there are houses in Spanish style, and I saw the palette is more beige brown, like this palette.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
For now. Thank you.
Question.
Go ahead.
First of all, nice to see you again. So the setback, you know, obviously the prevailing street setback is further back from where the legal allowed street setback is. Did you consider potentially trying to push it back a little bit? I mean, it's like almost like the whole house could be shifted back a couple of feet, and it would help get it better in alignment with the prevailing street setback.
We can do it. Like, it's just I try to keep as much as possible to back. The reason why I'm not going too much back because of the I even had to rotate my pool. So because it was getting too close to garage and to the house, so rotated so I will have more space for kids. They have little kids to play on the lawn, etc. And then that's why I didn't push that much. But then only living room is I think 20 feet away from the property line, only living room. The rest is pretty much very well set it back.
Right,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, right.
Just a simple question is, I was noticing, of course, your awning material at the front facade changes from, a more solid kind of beige color to the wood. Is there a reasoning behind that?
Awning where we have a balcony.
The overhangs, or maybe it's better
Yeah,
if
these are just the reason why I just wanted to have a little bit rhythm over there, not to have, and it was kind of complementing the rhythm of the streets below. So just to create a little rhythm, it's not any function, anything, just a design element.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Okay. I think that's it for our questions at this time, and that's all for now. Thank you. Do we have any callers? Okay, we don't have any other public comments, and so we'll close the public portion of the hearing and open it up for deliberation. Forgive me. Board Member Welsh.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Okay, generally speaking, I'm in favor of the design. I think it's nicely done. The one area that I want to throw out there for discussion was the size and scale of the living room window. It's a little big. I think that would be fine on the back. In fact, I think there is one of similar size on the back, but on the front side, it's a little predominant. And you have to remember that the street is, a public-private kind of a thing, because it's, you don't want to be walking by a house and then walking your dog and then turning and you're looking at a whole family gathered around, the TV watching it, and you can see everything that's going on the TV and everything that's going, because this is 11 and a half feet wide and, 9 feet tall, so it's very large. So I would recommend we ask them to scale that down a little bit to be a little bit more human scale. And I don't know what my fellow board members think. We've had cases like this on Thompson, 2 of them already this year, as Alan had pointed out. And the issue of the prevailing street setback is still an ongoing one. This is one of those streets where all of the homes are laid out where they're further back than technically they're allowed. So do we allow it to go up to where it's legally allowed, or do we want to respect where all of the other houses are? And we've done back and forth in there. I think we've allowed some to go push further, and as long as the second floor was at least behind this prevailing street setback, we were pretty much okay. I think this is one of those cases where, again, as the applicant pointed out, all they did is push the living room, the one-story living room mass that goes beyond that. So, I think it's probably okay because it is a minimal approach to it. My preference would be to push the whole structure back maybe a couple of feet, but again, I'll defer to the rest of you. But aside from that, the only other comment I had was about the lighting. There's lighting on the sides of the house, which it's facing nothing. So I'm a minimalist when it comes to lighting. I don't want to have lighting any more than we need it. So where it's not pertaining to a purpose. If it's on a patio, great, you can have a light. But if it's just on the side of the house where there's nothing, I don't think we should have lights there. Notwithstanding, these are good lights to use because they don't shine directly into the neighbors, but it still creates light. So my preference would be to remove light in those areas where it's really not germane to a particular use. So aside from that, I'm happy to move the project with some conditions. So.
Thank you.
Board Member Kiscani.
Thank you. Yeah, overall, I am in support of the project. I think you did a pretty good job. I do agree with the window, though. If we can minimize that a little bit, it does look like, if you're looking at the house, that's the focal point, in my opinion, that I would look at first. So yeah, I would play around with that. In regards to the setback, I'm okay with it, but I'd like to hear from your thoughts, whatever your thoughts are about it as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, I agree. Overall, I support the project. I think there it's definitely broken up quite a bit, you know, the massing, and it's fun, and I appreciate creative new designs. I concur with, I think this project is one of those where it has so many undulations and it is mostly quite set back that I'm okay, but perhaps that overhang at the entry might need to come back in to help not feel as massive. And that was one thing that I was feeling when I was looking at this, is that those two kind of projections fight for me the balance on the house and maybe make it more massing than it needs to be. So I was thinking those two central projections may be more in line with the other, maybe it's one horizontal band going across the front. I don't know what my colleagues. So can you pull up the 3D? I think it'll help.
So you're saying this mass here, make this
the one
consistent
continue,
across?
correct.
So it would probably have to come out a little bit further.
It could come out further, but if it's one consistent horizontal overhang across, I think it would help, and it would allow it to be more set back so that it isn't feel as massive. And yeah, that would be my main recommendation. And then I agree about the window. I don't know that the height needs to come down, but maybe even just at the base that there's, that comes up a little bit, and more like a big picture window versus a sliding door.
We could phrase it to restudy the
Right,
window to be
correct.
less massive or less imposing on the street.
Correct, yeah. And I'd say the other, I think there's a lot of thoughtful things here and elements, but I appreciated very much on your part, that the applicant's part, that you did a window study. We don't always see that, and consideration of the privacy of neighbors. And I would say the one thing on the side view of the side elevation, it's the checkerboard kind of look that's starting to occur. I don't know how to quite resolve that, but I think maybe if we could think about how the materials, that it could be less of a checkerboard and maybe a little more, asymmetrical in the patterning on that side would be my one recommendation. I don't know if that could be a consideration. I would love to hear how my fellow.
Yeah, consideration.
Yeah.
There is a mass that extends past the wood siding so that it has
Right.
a natural break there.
Yeah,
so-
I do see that
But
it's
yeah, but I see
following.
what you're talking about from that view of the checkerboard, but not many people are
Right.
going to see that.
That's true. It's
so-
very much so a side view that's going to be covered by another house.
Right.
And so it doesn't concern me dramatically. Maybe it's just a consideration. And that's, that they can alter the material slightly in that so that it's not a checkerboard. And that's all. I don't know if.
That's on lighting.
Oh, yeah, I agree with reduction in the lighting on the side. It's always nice for your neighbors to not have so much lighting there. So, yeah, totally agree with that. I'm trying to see if I have any other notes. No, just appreciate the thoughtfulness on solar orientation as well. So, but otherwise,
So to summarize, leave the setback as planned, as designed.
Correct.
But adjust that front overhang above the porch to
Right.
bring it back a little bit, maybe potentially align it with the other band there.
correct.
Do you need them to be aligned, or is it a designer's choice?
I think I do actually prefer it to be in alignment. I think it'll emphasize the horizontality in that one.
Because I believe that there
what's-
is a balcony above that
Oh,
that might be
I see.
impacted.
But maybe bring the other one forward slightly
Bring
to
that one
meet,
forward to meet the balcony.
balcony, correct?
Okay.
Right. So that they still get an overhang over their entryway.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
That would be my
And then,
recommendation.
and then the lighting.
Right.
And
Those two
that was,
conditions.
and the window, to
Right.
restudy the front living room window to be a little bit better in scale and not as imposing on the street.
Yes. Can you read back those conditions, please?
Yes, Madam Chair. Condition 1 additional conditions, say condition 4, to make the front window more human scale, to not be so imposing and to make it more human scale?
Right.
Feel free to revise my comment too. Condition 5, to remove excessive lighting on the side elevations?
At the side yards, correct.
Side yard, yeah. And just to clarify, from what I know, the locations, there's the linear light here,
Correct.
and then the linear light here, and then here, on the back here. So just to be specific,
Yeah, I mean, the main thing is that if there's a purpose for it, if there's a doorway nearby, if there's a patio, if
Oh, yeah.
there's
So
something.
typically, the board suggests to limit lighting to doors, patios,
Yeah,
Right.
to
Yeah.
one, really.
yeah, we have a standard condition that we can dig up for that, yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, usually it has to do with egress, walkways, doors. Yeah,
Okay.
we do have that one, yeah. Okay. And then the other one is, number 6 would be that, let's see. Well, this isn't necessarily condition, but it's more of a consideration that for the south elevation, which appears to be to reduce the, to study how they approach so it's less of a checkerboard pattern. Maybe consider an alternative
And, yeah,
to the checkerboard pattern of the south elevation,
of materiality and color.
In terms
yeah,
of, yeah.
Or color, yeah.
materiality and color.
But there was one more condition about the overhang.
Yes, here it is, here it is. Thank you. So the actual condition number 6 would be to align the first floor front overhang over the front entry and the side, to align that so it's uniform
Correct.
in a way that
Aligns with the balcony on the second floor.
aligns with balcony, right? Okay,
Okay.
clear, thank you.
Perfect, thank
So we'll
you.
keep the conditions that were out listed in the report.
Correct.
And
They were
then,
great.
in addition to the conditions and the one consideration.
Correct. That's correct.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Second.
So that was a motion by Board Member Kaskanian, and that was a second by Board Member Welch to approve the project with conditions. Board Member Kaskanian?
Yes.
Board Member Welch?
Yes.
Madam Chair Lacra?
Yes.
Motion carries 3-0.
Thank you. And congratulations, Alan, on your first case.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now, thank you. Okay. Oh, sorry, we're still in a hearing. Thank you. So we're ready to move on then to Irving, or I'll give you a few moments to shift.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry, we're still live on air, so, but thank you.
Okay, so the last case today involves the construction of a new multifamily building, and this is 413 through 419 Irving Avenue. DRB case number 000177-2022. The project involves the demolition of the existing residential dwelling units. There's currently 5 on the lot or on the site, and they're proposing to construct a new 4-story with mezzanine 55-foot, approximately high, 33-unit multifamily residential building totaling 3,896 square feet with a total of 49 parking spaces on site. This is a density bonus affordable housing project, so that component has already been approved by the city council. I do have a couple of slides just to kind of give you a little bit of background, and also I included information in the reports as an attachment as it relates to the council's motion. So the project would include 8 affordable units reserved for very low-income housing. And again, I mentioned about the parking on site. It includes 18 spaces above ground, or actually surface parking, and 31 spaces within a one-level underground portion of the building. The project is located in the R3050. The site is 18,369 square feet, and I already mentioned there are currently 5 residential dwelling units on the property, which will be demolished. And in terms of when they were built, it kind of ranges in the 40s, between 1940 and 1949. I just went through a little bit of the density bonus. Just by way of background, it included discretionary approval in terms of the density, and then also 3 concessions and 1 waiver were approved as part of the density bonus project in accordance with state density bonus housing laws, and that's outlined in your report in terms of what they were. These are some photos of the existing site in the context. Surrounding neighborhood again. It's a multifamily developed zone with multifamily buildings throughout, which vary in different heights, 2-3 stories. Here's the proposed site plan. So the applicant is proposing again to develop the property. The parking will be on site, and again, there's 3 units that are going to be on the ground level behind that surface parking lot. I shouldn't say parking lot, but parking spaces are located behind those residential units on that one level, and then they will have separate entrances or separate entrance driveway access to those specific 18 spaces, and then there's another driveway on the other side, which provides a driveway ramp down to the 31 spaces on the lower level. And this would be the south elevation, would be the front facade of the building. It's, again, more of a contemporary design with variation colors, cladding material, all of which, again, is consistent with that contemporary architecture. And the applicant is using, again, a variety of color and finishes. And I mentioned cementitious siding, more warm colors with that one accent blue for the one feature behind where I believe that would be the stairwell tower, the elevator, but I'll have to double check. So again, all cohesively integrated within that, the language of the contemporary architecture. And the mezzanines are located on the top floor, which would be those sloped roof portions. There is a roof deck also as part of the outdoor common open space. And I will get to that in one second, which would face the street on the upper level. And I'm just going to run through these quickly. And then the landscape, which is, again, their planting is, the palette is consistent and integrates well with the design of the building. As far as comments, well, before I get there, we are recommending approval subject to those conditions that are outlined in your report. They're pretty straightforward in general conditions. Other than that, okay. We only received 1 comment letter, which I had forwarded to you a while back, and the applicant does have a copy of that because it was submitted probably during the early stages of the submittal. Other than that, we don't have any more comment letter. And I think that was from the adjacent neighbor at the rear. They had concerns regarding the location, obviously, of the building as it relates to, and its proximity to their site.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Do my fellow board members have any questions? Okay, Board Member Walsh?
Excuse me, the catwalk that is up there on the roof there, is that a requirement from fire department?
I'm looking at the applicant, and he's saying it is.
Okay.
So he could address that in his presentation.
And then these mezzanine den things that are effectively on the 5th floor, none of them have windows?
I don't believe so, no.
Okay. And because they're dens, we wouldn't require that?
Right, because
for
they're most likely, they're
egress?
not considered bedrooms.
Okay. Would the city object to having windows on that?
Not
Is it-
necessarily, as long as it doesn't compromise the, concessions that,
Okay.
or waivers that have already been approved, or the density bonus.
Okay.
If,
And one of the waivers was to give them added height here, right? Because this is
correct,
definitely
yes,
high
yes, yes, yes.
standard in this
Yes.
area. Okay. Okay, thank you.
No questions? Okay. I don't have any questions at this time. So we'll invite the applicant to come forward and. Hi, please state your name.
My name is Ragder Vagimian. I'm an associate principal with Onyx Architects. Thank you for the time to review this project. We're very excited about it. Just a few things to add. Thank you, Milka. Like we said, there's ample parking for this project for all the residents and some guests. All parking is off the street. I know it's a big issue, especially in the city of Glendale, so we've taken that into consideration. I think this is a good opportunity to revamp this street, which does have a lot of multifamily buildings, some quite old, and we actually found out from GWP that we would be providing pull stations that would allow to feed other future developments on the street. It would be the first that's going to pull the adequate power for new developments. We've considered views and the connection to the street, so there are a lot of public spaces on every level, as well as a central courtyard and a rooftop terrace. The majority of the spaces, other than the central courtyard, face the street to keep that, public-private relationship, as well as provide some privacy to the majority of the units. The front facade plays, all facades play with a lot of solids and voids to avoid this building looking so massive in an otherwise pretty modest neighborhood. We've also played with materiality, particularly on the front facade, where public spaces are treated a little differently. When I say public, I mean common spaces for the residents and their guests to use. The materiality on those spaces are treated differently than those of the residential areas, just to delineate that. Along with some color play on that same aspect. All the mechanical systems or, utility type systems are all tucked away and non-visible from the street or any roof lines. Landscaping, we've met pretty much every threshold, almost down to the wire on this one. As far as open space goes, including landscaping, I think the front yard has maximized our landscape capabilities, and any additional landscaping we've needed, we've actually pulled towards the street end to really decorate and liven the street facade. And to to get back, since it's related to landscaping, talk about the one comment that we had from the rear neighbor. Their concern was privacy, because the building is significantly taller than, and will look onto the rear yard. We did look into that. There are several hurdles, if you will. First would be fire department access. Second would be electrical easement requirements that go along the backside. So trying to put trees or tall shrubs are a bit problematic. We did coordinate with the landscape architect. To do that kind of thing, we'd need pretty deep planters, which seems to be conflicting with headroom requirements and all that kind of stuff on the first level. So if we were to plant anything, it would only grow to half of its height. In addition to that, as far as privacy is concerned, we've limited the number of windows on the rear facade, and focused on only providing what would be required for bedrooms, maybe small ones for bathrooms, and everything else is focused on the east and west facades. And we haven't put any windows on the mezzanine portions, to address your comment, particularly because we have a height limit. We're trying to keep those a little bit taut if we can. They are vaulted ceilings for the most part where we could. So what that does is it gives you a low side and a high side. We could squeeze a few windows in, but I think, you know, in my opinion, those windows are gonna start looking onto mechanical systems. It's gonna, you know, amplify any noise off of condensers, foot traffic. It's a lively rooftop with a lot of segregated kind of spaces for multiple functions. And that's my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Do my colleagues have questions for the applicant?
Yeah, so just so I'm clear, so on these units on the mezzanine, the two-story space is the ones that's facing the exterior walls.
Correct.
So that would be where you'd be putting windows, and they wouldn't really be usable because the actual little loft areas are inboard, right? They're internal,
So
not
each,
against the exterior wall.
Each unit would have a different configuration. If you guys have the plans open, you can open it to DR 25. That shows the mezzanine level, and you'll see that's a double height space that's looking down onto the living space below. So really, the usable portion of the mezzanine is tucked away.
On the insides.
On
right.
the insides, that's right.
So you could put some windows in there, but it would really just be to give light to that second-story volume,
So I
essentially.
could, pending allowable open area calculations per the code. So the
Okay.
code allows a specific percentage of openings in any given facade based on the area of the facade and how far it's set back. So I'd have to check that, but it is something that we can consider.
Okay. Since we're on that page, DR 25, I note that you have some areas marked for the open space, or the landscape areas, I should say, that seem to be behind a doorway, which would really be a doorway for just egress or access to mechanicals, not really usable by the
Right.
tenants.
Outside of enclosed spaces like the elevator, you know, the trash chute room and the stairs, all the doors you're seeing are low-level doors. They're not full height. They're all just about 42-inch high parapet walls.
Okay.
With just the gate. It's just an access
Okay,
gate.
so just little pony walls, so, okay.
Yeah,
I
you can
see.
definitely see over.
So that area would still be accessible to the tenants? Okay.
Yes, it's all visible.
Okay. I recognize your challenge getting the open space requirements here, you know, and I would challenge it a little bit, you know, in terms of like including the second floor, third floor, fourth floor areas around the courtyard. I mean, those are hallways, not open space. But, you know, I mean, if staff okay is it, I guess it's okay, but I would
Those
normally
don't-
not consider that,
Those
really.
don't count towards open space. Open
They look like
space-
they were part of your calculations
No,
there.
no, the calculations, the only open space is the courtyard, so if you, let's work backwards here, go to DR 22. That would be the second level. You have a courtyard. And just outside the elevator, which is on the central south end, there would be a seating area. It's kind of flanked by a couple of planters there. So that seating area occurs on every level. This courtyard only occurs here. And every other level above is just a circulation path, kind of a balcony to access the units. Those are
Okay, so
not
those are
considered
not
in-
part of what you're considering
No,
the open
no,
space?
absolutely
Okay.
not.
For some reason, I saw a graphic that showed those being included as part of it, but let me see if I can find whatever.
You may be referencing DR 03.1.
Yes, that was the one.
Right, so you'll notice the second floor plan has the darker blue shaded area as the
Yes.
courtyard.
Yes,
And the south portion's in front of the lobby.
right.
And then you'll notice that the
And
third.
third and fourth.
fourth only include that south portion.
Okay,
And then the rest is picked up in the mezzanine, the roof level.
okay. So it is including all portions of that space? Because in the other one you were showing me on the 25, it was just the hatched area in the center.
Oh, no, that's just the paving pattern.
Oh, that's just
I'm
the
sorry,
paving
yes, the
pattern. Okay.
entire south end of that
Entire whole
is,
thing, okay.
is a, so it's bisected by planters so that it creates semi-private spaces for people to use as separate functions, which doubles as code requirements to split up a roof deck that's that large.
And there's no cover on the roof deck?
No.
And is there
There is
no ability to
portions-
put a roof cover on there?
Height limitations would stop us from doing that, as well as code requirements. As soon as you start covering, it's considered floor area. Now it's a fifth level. Now you need means of egress elevator. I mean, it's a trickle effect. And it essentially would end up
You already
becoming a
have
type.
elevator access to that floor, don't you?
We do, yes.
Yes.
But the elevator is not necessarily a means of egress. There's a delineation there.
Okay, so I think the last question I had was around the blue color, that sort of highlight color. Because it comes across as, like a sky blue in this rendering, and it's like cobalt blue in the elevations, but in point of fact, the actual color specified, the evening blue, the hardy evening blue, is really more of a slate blue color. So
That is the intent.
that is the intent, is a slate
Yes,
blue color?
The renderings don't always come off the way they're intended to. It does have a vertical siding, so a joint line, so it would be a little more accentuated with a shadow line. The intent of the blue color was for it to not look like such a giant mass and blend into the sky, really. We would propose a few contrasting, coping at the parapet line, just to cut off that delineation and avoid kind of it disappearing, in the sky, if you will.
Okay. Those are my questions, so, thank you.
I don't have any questions at this time. Thank you.
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I don't have any public comment cards.
Let
Are
me see
there
if there's any
callers?
callers. No, no calls.
Okay. Great, thank you. Then we'll close the public portion of the hearing and open it up for deliberation. Board Member Kiscanian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, I'm overall in support of the project. I think you did a pretty good job in regards to breaking down of the materials. My only thing would be the blue color. I would want to see if there's a potential opportunity for us to explore other color options. One thing that comes to mind whenever I think of like the colors that are used on these types of buildings is the Glendale Youth Center. I don't know if anyone knows that one, but like it's like a very lime green color. It like sticks out. Not saying to use that color, but what I'm saying is in regards to like it being popped out a lot like that, I don't know. I think I would just exploring some different color options would be something that I would recommend. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Board Member Welsh?
I concur. I like the project. I'm in support of it. I think it's pretty big, but obviously that's not within our purview. You know, it's got the massive discretionary bonus that it was allowed by the city. And I concur. I think the blue is really the one place, because I actually liked the rendering portion where it's sort of blended into the sky. And so to me, that was speaking, oh, that should be a lighter color, you know? And so I would agree with, you know, maybe it's a consideration of exploring colors that maybe is a little bit lighter or a little bit more blue, as opposed to just, because the evening blue is, it's almost like his jacket color, you know, and that's just a little slate. And I think that, you know, and I know that the sky isn't always blue, but I think when it is, you know, a sunny day, I think to be able to have something that shows a little panache, you know, a little bit more of a color to it would be a good call. So, but again, it's a consideration in my mind, so.
I concur. I overall support the project. I think the articulation and materials that you've used really do break up this bigger structure. I really do like how it's broken up. I concur that I really do like the blue in the rendering. And so if you could get towards that color, it would be an improvement versus what we're seeing on the other 3D axonometrics drawings that are on the screen currently. So, yeah, I think that would be the only other I would say it could even be a condition to lighten the or study the color.
That's fine.
And lighten it. Yeah,
Conditions? Okay,
condition.
all right.
I do think,
So work with staff to
right.
study the color to potentially have something that's a little bit more in keeping with the color as shown on the rendering.
On the rendering,
in the
correct.
plan.
Yeah.
You mean the colored elevations?
And-
The
renderings.
first page rendering is the one that
The
we're.
elevations were a cobalt blue, and I think we're talking about something that's a little bit lighter.
Okay, 1 second. I want to make sure I'm looking at the right elevation then. Oh, shoot. So you don't want that,
Not the
Not
royal.
not that
No.
shade? Okay.
Go to the
Not the
last
very-
one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I had that one. I had it?
Yeah, you
It's
had
right
it.
at the very
Yeah,
beginning. Oh, there it
yeah,
is.
right there,
This
right
one?
there. That one,
Okay.
yes.
It almost looks like the sky. It's when you see the printout though, it's even it has a lot more detail. That it's really nice.
Okay, so basically, use the shade of the blue hue as shown on the rendering,
Yeah, or, you know,
or similar.
see what you can do. I mean, I know, you know, you might have to do a painted option as opposed to a standard hardy board.
Right.
But, you know, I think that could be studied and work with staff on trying to find a solution for that.
Right. It's on sheet DR00 if it helps.
Yes, sheet DR00. Okay. Yeah, because there's so many sheets and so many renderings, so I want to make sure I get the right one. In addition to that, we'll keep the conditions that we've
Staff had,
listed
yes,
in the
that's fine.
report. Are there any other, I just have the one condition that the board is suggesting.
Correct.
And
Just
that's it? And
just
that's
that
it?
condition and no, that's it. And the conditions that you have
Okay.
provided.
Okay,
And with that, I'll move it for approval with the conditions.
okay, that's a motion by
Okay.
Board Member Welch, and that was a second, Board Member Kaskanian. Board Member Welch,
Yes.
Board Member Kaskanian,
Yes.
Madam Chair Lockroff.
Yes.
Motion carries, approved with conditions 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam
Thank
Chair, move to
you.
adjourn.
I don't have any staff comments.
I'm sorry, what was
And
that?
no, I don't have any staff comments, so we'll see you next year.
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you
Merry
so
Christmas
much.
to everybody.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank
We're
you.
ending at 7:57 PM. Meeting is adjourned.